Hi, welcome to our monthly fifth person hangout. My name is Victor. If you can hear me and see me loud and clear, please type yes in the chat box right now. Okay, cool. Thank you, Ivy, Tiffany, Vin, and all of you. Thank you, Edmund, and all this. Okay, so welcome to our monthly fifth person hangout. Okay, just in case you don't know who am I, my name is Victor, and we have been running this hangout almost every month, talking about different topic. And today's topic, we're going to talk about how to look into IPO part 2. Okay, if you miss out the part 1, don't worry, later I'll tell you where to look for part 1. So today part 2, I will be just going through using one case study, and the company I'm going to talk about is basically this company called Hai Di Lao. Okay, so basically this company is featured in the Forbes Asia for this month, and if you have the time and the money, just go and buy this magazine. You'll start to understand the thinking behind this founder. But of course, now I'm going to decipher the prospectus for you to see. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen with you. Give me a minute. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, if you can see my screen, right, please type yes in the chat box right now. Can you see my screen? Okay, cool. So all of you can see my screen. Okay, so let me move on. Okay, so this is the part 2 of the training, which is what to read in the IPO prospectus part 2. Okay, the part 1 I've done about, I think, 2 months ago, so don't worry about that. And today's company is going to talk about Hai Di Lao, and now I'm going to show you where can you look for the part 1 that I talk about, what to look in the IPO's prospectus in case you miss out on it. Okay, so basically you can see on this site. Okay, you all can see all this, right? You can see this page, right? This website is called fifthperson.com/hangout. So basically here is we share all the different hangout that we have for the past few years that we did. Okay, so the latest one was about the Facebook and Tencent. Okay, so if you want to talk about the IPO prospectus part 1, right, is actually episode number 15 over here. So you can go there and take a look if you miss out the first part. Okay, so don't worry about that. Okay, so today we're going to just talk about Hai Di Lao. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go through this presentation to show you what information did I found out and where should you look in the prospectus. But I won't go into as detailed as the first episode. Okay, I will just go through as a case study. Then I will end off with Q&A. Okay, so hopefully we can end around in an hour time. Okay, because the previous time I think I run until 1.5 hours. So we're going to play by ear from there. So as usual, I'm going to share the user disclaimer. So whatever I shared today is not a recommendation to buy or sell. Okay, it's for educational purpose. And the other time around, I was talking about where to find the IPO prospectus and what to read in the IPO prospectus. So that was the shared in the part 1. So now I'm going to tell you where to find the IPO prospectus for Hai Di Lao. So basically, you go to this website called Hong Kong exnews.hk. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the website. So if you can see here, this is the Hong Kong exchange news. So whatever updates about any company, their financial reports, their listing document, their any announcement, you come over to this website in the Hong Kong market. So basically, let's say I choose Hai Di Lao, then you have to choose the headline category, which is the listing document, which is the IPO prospectus. Then you just start search. Okay, you can see it's over here, global offering. So this is the IPO's prospectus for Hai Di Lao. Okay, so this is where you're going to find the IPO's prospectus, Hong Kong EX News. Okay, so now we come to the important part. So what to read in the IPO prospectus, which I already explained in the previous round, and now I'm just going to go through using Hai Di Lao as an example. So there's 7 steps to it, which is the first, you must find out the summary of the IPO. You want to know what kind of things they do with the proceeds. You want to understand the business. You want to know the management. You want to look at the financial, and you want to see the valuation. And lastly, if there's an industry report, you want to read that industry report. Okay. So let me go firstly to the summary of the IPO. Okay. So basically for the summary of the IPO, what you want to look for is the summary of the business, the issue price, the number of shares, the total amount raised, and the market capitalization. Okay, so for Hai Di Lao, right, basically the IPO at 1780 Hong Kong dollar, and the amount they raised about 755.6 million, and their post IPO shares about 5,300 million shares, and their market cap is about 94.3 billion Hong Kong dollar. So where can you extract the information? So let me go to my, okay, I'm going to close this window. Let me just go to my iPad. Just going to show you here. Please type yes in the chat box if you can see my iPad. Okay, cool. So most of you can see. Okay, so if you look at my iPad, right, this is the IPO prospectus of Hai Di Lao. So what you're going to look for is, I'll just go direct to the page because I already know where to look at. But most importantly is you must always go to the content page. Okay, so the content page already lay out whichever the things that you need to look for is all in this content page. Okay, so what I usually suggest is that if you have time, try to read the more detailed information. If not, you can read the summary information. Okay. So usually at the second page of the IPO prospectus, right, you'll see this thing called global offering. Okay. And this global offering, right, you'll see the number of shares they want to offer, which is over here. So this is the number of shares that Hai Di Lao offer, 424 million plus shares, okay, at this price. So this is how you find the amount they raise. You take this amount, multiply that by the share price. Okay. So next is you want to look for what's their post IPO shares. So what you need to do is you go to the you go to their content page again, and you look for this thing called share capital, which is right over here. Right over here. So you know it's page 250. And basically I already bookmarked the page already. Okay, let me see where's the page. Okay, it's over here. Okay, so I'm at the share capital page. If you look at the share capital page, right, you can find that the total number of shares after IPO is over here, which they already explained to you. Okay, so you can find it's about 5,300 million shares. So that's how I found all the figures. So basically, if you want to find the market cap, you just take the share price multiplied by the market cap, and that's how you find Hai Di Lao actually IPO at which market capitalization. Okay, so this is where I find all the information. The next thing is you want to find is to know where the company is using the proceed for. So what are they going to use? Okay, and in the previous round I already explained that there's two types of things that usually when company IPO. So one, they IPO because they want to grow the company, or they want to IPO because they want to pay off their debt. So of course, as an investor, when a company IPO is usually they want to grow. So you want to buy into a company that is grow, because usually you know when company IPO, they usually IPO at a high price. You don't want to buy into a company, right? They IPO at a high price, but they use most of the proceed to pay off their debts. So that's not a good thing. Okay, so you want to have growth. So if the company IPO at a high price, but yet it can grow very fast, right? So the IPO price may not be that expensive after all. So that's a way you must know how to gauge also. Okay, so basically if you go to Hai Di Lao, the use of proceed, they already show you that out of the 85%, out of the whole proceed that they can use, 85% is used for growth. 15% of it is going to use to pay down their debt. So now I know that majority of what the IPO is going to use to grow the company. So where can you extract this information is basically same thing. You go back to the, always refer back to the content page. Then you look for use of proceed. Okay, which is over here. Let me rub away this, which is over here, use of proceed. Okay, so it's over here. So, but of course, as usual, I already bookmarked the page already. So if you can see from here, basically they tell you the use of proceed, which I just screenshot for you just now. So the company is very nice. They actually done out the percentage for you. Most of the time it's not like this one. Most of the time you have to go and calculate yourself. You're going to take out the total amount raised, then you're going to divide and see what's the percentage of each one. Okay. So as you can see, it's 60% here. Okay, it's used to finance expansion of the business from 2018 all the way down to 2020. And about 20% is used to implement technology inside their business. So basically, it's also using for growth of their business. And only 15% is used for paying off debts, and the remaining 5% is actually used to actually manage their working capital on the daily basis. So you can see from here. So let us move back. So now you understand the summary of the company. Then you know what kind of proceed they're going to use for. Next is you need to understand what business the company is in. Okay, so for Hai Di Lao, I think most of you knows about Hai Di Lao, and their business is actually more in the Hotpot business, which is F&B. So when you look at business, you study the business model, the different type of risks, and the prospect, the business strategy, how they're going to grow their business. So this one is all what we need to find out in the IPO prospectus. Of course, I find out all for you now here, and later I'll go through in the prospectus. So basically, like I said, they are in the Hotpot business, and that's the only business that they have. And if you look at Hai Di Lao, okay, so they got about 363 restaurants. And this is the countries that they are in: Singapore, Korea, Japan, US, China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. Of course, their main business is actually in China itself. So let us go back to the iPad, and how you're going to find this information is that back to the content page again. So there's this thing called business over here. So you want to go to this page to find out about the business. This is where you can find everything about Hai Di Lao business in depth. So let's move to that page. I think that will be right here. Okay. So right here you can see this is the business review talking about the type of business that Hai Di Lao is in. They are in the Hotpot business, and they even tell you that they have about 1 million, 100 million guests a year. So that's a lot of guests going to the company. And from here you can see that their restaurant network, how much they have grown the network of restaurant. It's over here. You can see that from here. So these are the information that you must read as an investor. Okay, so if you move on, right, then you will come to this base where you tell you the competitive strength of Hai Di Lao. Okay, so you see they got good branding, they're well positioned, they got high quality, scalable growth, and they have a very good experience. Then over here, you want to take note about this thing, which is their guest and employee. Okay, so let me move back to the slides a bit. Okay, so this also talk about the how many restaurants that they have. So in this picture, which you can find in the IPO prospectus under the page 146, which I'm going to show you right now. Give me a minute. Over here, yep. So you can see the information is all here. So if you look at here, right, China itself, right, they got about 322 stores. Singapore is their largest outside overseas, which is 10 stores, followed by Taiwan and South Korea, which have 6 stores each, followed by Japan 3 stores and Hong Kong 2 stores. So this is what you need to know, the information, so you can know how much they can grow even more. Okay, but to my understanding, their first tier city are actually almost hit maximum already. So their growth may come from the second tier or third tier city. Okay. So after you find out, the next thing is you want to find out like what's their competitive advantage, which I showed you just now. So these informations talk about that 99.3% of their guests, right, that goes into HAIDILAO, right, they come out, right, they did a survey and say that 99.3% of them, right, are very satisfied with their service level and they like to dine in HAIDILAO. Okay, and 90.1% of their employee, right, are also very satisfied with the corporate culture of HAIDILAO. That's why you see HAIDILAO, right, their staff turnover rate is very, very minimum only. Okay, and the next information, they says that for the HAIDILAO, right, every time they open the restaurant, they spend money to open a new restaurant. It takes them 6 months to 13 months, right, to earn back whatever they invested. And also within 1 to 3 months, right, when they operate, right, they straight away become break even. So this is the payback of and the break even point of HAIDILAO. So you can see that if you compare it to the industry average, right, the industry average, right, for industry is for the payback months, right, it takes about 15 to 20 months. But you look at HAIDILAO is 6 to 13 months. So definitely they got advantage on that. The next is if you look at the break even point, right, is for HAIDILAO is 1 to 3 months, and for the industry is 3 to 6 months. Okay, so where do I find this information? So let's go back to the slide. The same thing under the business, right? Okay, let me scroll down. Okay, yeah, so under the business, under the competitive advantage, you can see the guest and employee that I circle it. Okay, you can see the guest percentage over here. Okay, the employee percentage is over here. So the informations are all inside the annual report. You can take it out from there. Okay, next is you want to look at their the payback that I talk about. Okay, which is further down the page. Okay, right here. Okay, if you look at the payback, it's over here. So you can see that break even period is 1 to 3 months for HAIDILAO. And payback is 6 to 13 months. Then they also talk about the industry average level, which is 3 to 6 months and 15 to 20 months. Okay, this one I can confirm the way they break even. Okay, let me explain to you about a bit about HAIDILAO business, why they are able to earn back so fast and break even so fast. Okay, so my experience about HAIDILAO is that their service level is very good. Okay, and their food quality is also good. And because of their service level, a lot of customers are very satisfied about their business. So for instance, let me explain to you why they are able to do that. So if you look at VivoCity, for example, if you have been to Singapore, there's this shopping center near Sentosa, it's called VivoCity. And VivoCity, right, they got this third level area where some of the areas, right, nobody will walk towards there. Okay, I remember got one area, right, I think it used to be a gym. Then it was taken over by HAIDILAO. And the foot traffic over there, right, is very minimum. But the moment HAIDILAO opened down there, right, you can see crowds starting to go over there. Okay, so the advantage that HAIDILAO have over a lot of other restaurant business out there is that they can go to places where actually the traffic is not very good, but they can bring the traffic down there. So this boils down to another example that I can share with you right now is that recently, I think a few months ago, I went to Guangzhou. So when I was Guangzhou, I want to go and eat HAIDILAO. I want to see what's the experience like. Is it consistent with the Singapore experience? And how is the food quality like? And is the staff service the same? So I start to Google and find HAIDILAO at Guangzhou. So in there I found the HAIDILAO. So I start to walk to the area. So when I walk to the place, the HAIDILAO is in this building. So when I look from outside, I look at this building, right? I would say that this building looks very old, and the first level, right, is selling jewelry. Okay, and totally no people. Okay, so I was asking myself, am I at the right place or not? So in there, I just went up to level 3 because they said the HAIDILAO is level 3. And when I went up to level 3, Oh, you can see the crowd flood with a lot of people out there. Okay, when I go inside Hai Di Lao, it's full. When I reach down there, I still have to queue. Okay, and inside the whole Hai Di Lao is full. So you can see that they no need to look out for expensive places. They can go to cheap places and they bring the crowd go down there. Okay, and that's the branding that they have built, the service level that allows them to make a payback month and a break-even month lesser than the industry, faster than the industry average. Okay, so let's move on. Next is we need to understand the risk of Hai Di Lao. Huh? So the risk come from knowing what is the type of the risk, right, that will affect the business. Okay, if you go to read the IPO prospectus, right, they will share with you a lot of different type of risks. But what you want to know is the important risk that the moment that risk happen, right, it will affect the whole business. Okay, so I've boiled down to about 5 of the risks. The first risk is the quality of dining experience. Okay, so I would like to know how many of you actually been to Hai Di Lao before. Can you type yes in the chat box if you have been to Hai Di Lao before? Okay, cool. I think most of you been to Hai Di Lao. Okay, so when you go to Hai Di Lao, what makes you go back Hai Di Lao? Because of the dining experience, am I right? The service level that they wow you. Okay, I remember the first time my friend told me, hey Victor, you should go to Hai Di Lao. And when I go to Hai Di Lao, and I came out of Hai Di Lao with a very wow experience, because you know the thing about F&B industry is that they are always bad service, but this founder, right, bring Hai Di Lao service to a next level. So when I came out, I keep telling a lot of my friends, hey, you should go and try Hai Di Lao, you should go and try Hai Di Lao. And that is their service, their quality of dining. Okay, and do you agree with me that most of you, right, goes to Hai Di Lao because of the service and the food quality? Am I right? If you agree with me, type yes in the chat box. Okay, yeah, so all of you type yes because you know that you go Hai Di Lao because of the quality and the service. And if Hai Di Lao were to lower their service standard and lower their food quality, will you go back to Hai Di Lao? Yes or no? Type in the chat box right now. Cool. So most of you say you will not go back. So that is their main business already. So the moment you see that Hai Di Lao, the service drop and the food quality drop, I can tell you the business will definitely drop. So just take note about it. So this is the number one most important factor of Hai Di Lao. The next thing about Hai Di Lao is their related party transaction, which I'm going to talk more in depth under the management segment. Okay, the food quality, I've talked about it. Next is that the trademark of Hai Di Lao. Just in case you don't know, the trademark of Hai Di Lao, right, is not owned by the listed company. So if you have bought into the listed company of Hai Di Lao, okay, the listco don't owns the trademark. The trademark is still owned by the founder, but the founder licensed the trademark royalty free to the listed company. So just take note about it. There's a risk, okay, that the founder may take back the Hai Di Lao name, and after that the whole chain have to change their name. Okay? But I think the risk is very minimum. But you have to take note of this risk. The next is that Hai Di Lao is very limited to the Chinese community. Personally, I feel Hotpot, right, is a Chinese thing, and most Chinese love to go Hotpot. But if you look at other culture, other race, they generally don't always go to Hotpot. Okay, so you have to take note of this thing. So that means when they expand, right, they only expand into places where there's Chinese, which is what the founder also said in, I think, some of his interview. They also expand to places where there's Chinese. And if you notice, right, the place that they expand in let's say I think it's US or Canada, they goes to places where there's a higher population of Chinese people down there. So just take note about it. So this one, but this risk is very minimal actually. Okay, but the main risk I would say is the related party transaction, the quality of dining, and the trademark and the food quality. So where can you find the risk? So if you go back to the content page again, there's one whole one whole chapter about talking about risk factor, okay, which is over here. So let me go to the page. Okay, so you got one whole chapter talking, but of course, not all risks will affect the business. You want to focus on the risks that actually mainly affect the business. So if you flip, you will know already. Like for instance, the quality of dining is a risk that I think will affect the business. So I'll just take note of this one. Maybe you read all this. I think all this I just read only, but I don't think it will mainly affect. The one you must find is the mostly will affect their business. Like food quality also very important, which is over here. Let me move on. You just flip a few pages, you can see. Okay, let me move on to the main risk, which I talked to you about the trademark one. Okay, over here. So remember I talked to you about the trademark. So you can see we do not own the Hai Di Lao and related trademark used in our business. Our business it will adversely affected if we cannot continue to use the trademark. So this part they already talked to you about the risk of Hai Di Lao, and it's explained over here that actually is a related party transaction that they are being licensed to license agreement with Sichuan Hai Di Lao with connected party, which is the founder, for a royalty free thing. Okay, so just take note, this is one of the main risks that if you invest in Hai Di Lao. So anytime they can pull back the trademark one, so take note about it. And of course, the Chinese community one is I read it somewhere that the founder talked about. So all these are the risks that you must take note. As long as you see all these risks start to surface, right, it's very dangerous to continue hold on to the company. So take note about it. Okay, let's move on to understand further about the business. How are they able to actually provide a good dining experience? So they are able to do that is because of their corporate structure that they actually built. So if you can see from this thing, which I retrieve it from the IPO prospectus, which which they explain in detail. I'm just going to summarize everything for you to understand. So basically, they have multiple layers. They start with the head, which is the headquarter. So the headquarter, right, will maintain control over the critical aspect of the restaurant management, including like let's say food safety supplier selection and the management, IT system, or want to expand the business. Then they have this thing called the coaches, which they report to the headquarter. And what the coaches do is that the coaches right actually are used to be restaurant manager, okay, and after they promote to coaches. And what they do is that they will give guidance and support, right, to the other coaches also, and also the coaches will give their support to the restaurant manager. So if the restaurant manager got any problem, okay, which is the group leader of that manage all the restaurant one, right, will go up to talk to the coaches, and the coaches will advise them what to do, because the coaches got experience because they used to be restaurant manager. Okay, so the thing about Hai Di Lao is that they promote from within. They don't hire people from outside. They promote from within. That means you come in as a low level, you can go all the way up to very high level in Hai Di Lao. Okay. Next is that under the group, which you can see here, there's a group leader. Okay. So the restaurant will all come into a group depending on their province or their countries. If Singapore, I believe the whole Singapore is as one group, but in China, it's all in the province and all this. Then in the province, there's a group leader. Okay, so the group leader is the group leader for all those restaurants. Okay, it usually consists of 5 to 18 restaurants in one group. Okay, and it's a mentor-mentee relationship inside. And after that, in the individual restaurant is the restaurant manager, where they manage the hiring, the assessment of staff, the promotion, the development of their staff. Whether Hai Di Lao, the staff, right, all from the bottom, they have to go through, I think, 10 different jobs, and they must go through 10 different jobs. Then the restaurant manager will say that they will recommend them for promotion, and this staff, right, will have to go through a test and also go through interview and check whether they can able to promote or not. Okay, so that's how Hai Di Lao, right, you can see that they don't have manpower issue. Okay, most of the staff stay with them for very long time. Okay, so this information you can get more detailed. If you have time, you can go and read it. It's very interesting, the structure. If you want to go and do into F&B business, I think you should read this the way how they grow. So which is over here, their organization structure. They explained very in depth on each of their different structures. You can see from here. Okay, from the headquarter all the way to the coach and coaches team, the group and the restaurant level. Okay, you can. It's all right here. Next is that for the restaurant manager, right, from here, right, you can see under their compensation. All right, you can see that their restaurant manager, they got two choice. They can do option A or option B. Option A is basically they get about 2.8% of the profit of the restaurant that they manage. Option B is that they only get 0.4% of the profit of the restaurant that they manage. Okay, but if they are able to train out a very strong mentee, okay, that means they train out a tuti disciple, okay, train them up to a sifu level, master level, or restaurant manager level, that the group thinks that this person can go and open another restaurant, okay, and once this person, their mentee, go out to open another restaurant, the sifu or the master of the restaurant of the original restaurant, right, will take a cut of the mentee restaurant. Okay, that's how they make encourage their restaurant manager to bring up train out more capable people so that they can expand. So most of the time when they expand to other restaurants, usually their own people. Okay, so you can find this information in the prospectus, which I'm going to show you right now. Let me show you. Okay, under the business, under the assessment, compensation, and training, which you can see from here. So if you flip further, they will explain to you a bit about the business. So for instance, right, the restaurant in Hai Di Lao are rated between A restaurant, B rated, and C rated. So what's the difference between all these three? Is basically A rated is that means their service level very high, their food quality very good. B rated is their service level is only just normal, and their food quality is also maybe good, but the service level is just normal. C rated is that means the service level is no good. Okay, so how they are able to do that is Hai Di Lao, right, every quarter, right, or every month, they will send a mystery shopper into their store. Okay, this mystery shopper is the higher one, and this mystery shopper will go into all their stores and start rating them every month. Okay, if your company, right, if the restaurant that they go in, right, got food safety issue, right, straight away they are C rated restaurant. Okay, if the service level is no good, they are just fair and B rated, then the coaches will kind of coach them to bring their level back to A rated. Okay, and if the restaurant is consistent 2 years A rated restaurant, then the mentee of the restaurant is able to open a new restaurant. Okay, if the restaurant don't have consecutive 2 A rated year, then the mentee of the restaurant cannot open another restaurant. So that means the restaurant manager cannot make more money. So you understand this part? Okay, so this is how they actually grow their business, okay, from a bottom-up approach, and they rate their business from there. Okay, so if you can see the compensation this is the page that I get it from. So you can go and read more about it, more in depth about how Hai Di Lao compensate. I think it's a very, very interesting and scalable structure that they build. Okay, next is we want to find out how are they going to grow the business forward. So that's the most important thing. Okay, so this part they talk about it, which is under the business strategy, which I'm going to show you right now. So if you look at the business strategy, they're going to talk about how they're going to expand the business. They want to increase the restaurant density. They want to further increase the geography, and they want to increase the coverage in regions with large Chinese community. So actually you see that the founder actually only expand into Chinese area only. So that is also quite a limitation to me, I feel. Okay, so I think they want to increase the density of the restaurant in China. But I think their first tier city are almost maxed out already. I think they can grow in the second and third tier city, but I don't know if the food quality, the food quality will be there, but the fee, don't know is it cheaper in the third tier city. That one I have to go and check. So far I went to their first tier city, and if I compare the first tier city with Singapore, it's generally quite cheap. So for instance, in Singapore, if 4 person we eat Hai Di Lao, cost about probably $200 Sing dollar. But in Guangzhou, when I eat Hai Di Lao 4 person, and we order a lot of food, we order a lot of abalone. In the end, we only paid $80 Sing dollar for 4 person. So that's how cheap it is in China as compared to Sing dollar. But to the Chinese, may be expensive. So this one you have to take note about it. Next is they also want to expand overseas. So these are the areas that they want to expand. So this is how you know where they're going to do and grow their business. Okay, so if you look at this chart, which I've screenshot from the prospectus, you can see that for the first half 2018, right, their tier 1 city grow by 26.1%. Their tier 2 city grow by 48.2%. First half 2017 compared with first half, it costs 2018 compared to first half 2017. And their third tier city grow by 120%, and their international grow by 95.2% in terms of revenue. So you can see actually the big growth is coming actually from mostly the third tier city, the second tier city, and the international business itself. So this information you can also extract it from the prospectus which I'm going to show you right now. Right over here. Okay. So you can see from here their tier city outside, how they are growing and all this. Okay. So you can see from here the information. So like I said before, their tier 1 city is almost maxed out already, I feel. Okay, they are quite saturated in terms of density in the tier 1 city. Next is you want to move on to management. And for management, what you want to find out is who's the management, the shareholder, and do they have interested party transaction, or do they sell vendor shares? That means they IPO to sell their shares away. Okay, for Hong Kong, right, it's unlike Singapore. In Singapore, you can find vendor share, but in Hong Kong, right, the moment you want to sell vendor share, right, the Hong Kong exchange will question you a lot of things. Okay, and it may hinder your IPO. So that's why a lot of companies, when they IPO in Hong Kong, right, they didn't really sell vendor shares. Okay, but because they don't sell vendor shares, right, then they do some other ways, right, to siphon the money out of the listed company, which is through related party transaction. Okay, that's why we in Hong Kong market you have to see a lot on related party transaction, which I'm going to talk about it later. Okay, so let's move on. So this is the founder, Zhang Yong. So where can you find it? You can find it over in the prospectus in page around, let me see now, page 240. So you can see that this is the founder. Basically, the founder is about a few people. Okay, these 3 people, including one more, the guy's wife. It's a two couple came out and opened Hai Di Lao. Okay, so this is the 2 that mainly run the business. This guy is the one that helped to fund the business initially. Then in the end, he also one of the founder. So just take note about it. So you can get it from here. Next is we have to move on to page 254. You can move down to the substantial shareholder, which you can find under the content page. You can see that they basically owns, after listing, they owns about 99.86% of the whole companies. Okay. Oops, sorry. So this is the founder. Okay, next is I'm going to talk about the related party transaction of this company. So if you look at the related party transaction, right, in 2015, right, 61.7% of the total purchase, right, is related party transaction. So what it means by related party transaction is that they do business with a company that the founder itself also own that company on. So the thing about related party transaction is that it can subject to manipulation if it's very high percentage. That means basically, you can see that the total purchase, let's say in 2015 of Hai Di Lao, right, the total purchase is account 61.7% of the total purchase, right, is by related party transaction. So if the founder want to have a good numbers in terms of their revenue, then they just reduce the cost sell to this company only. Okay, so just take note about it. It's subject to manipulation, but of course, I'm not saying that the founder will manipulate. It's just that it may subject to manipulation. So you have to take note about this. Okay, so 2015 is about 61.7%, then 2016 is about 68.8%, and 2017 it was at a high of 81.3%. And just the first half 2018, right, it drops to 51.2%. So these are all the companies that they do related party transaction. So if you look at the third one, which is Hai Group, right, it's also a listed company. It's called Hai International. It's listed in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So just take note about it. So it's owned by the founder. So where can you find this? Is basically on the, if you go to the content page, they will ask you go to page, I think 220. So let me show you the page. So 220 summarize all the related party transaction of the companies that they do, the trademark licensing and everything. Okay, but of course the most important thing is the total purchase. That one was subject to very huge manipulation in the future, possible manipulation, I would say. Okay, I think all these are too detailed for all of you. If you have time, it's good to read. But if you don't have time, actually under page 11, right, the summary, right, they did very well summary about the related party transaction. Okay, let me go to page 11. Okay, so right here they talk about the summary connected party transaction. They summarize everything for you over here and the percentage. So you can see that the percentage that I got is all from here. Okay, so just take note about it. Okay, so this is the related party transaction of Hai Di Lao. I think this is one of the big risks. I'm very concerned with this thing. So just take note about it. The trademark license which I talked about just now. Okay, so next we want to move into the financial segment of Hai Di Lao. So in the financial, what we want to look at is for extraordinary item. That means one-off item. That means not based on the operating business. So you have to remove it. Okay, and you also have to read the management discussion on the financial, whether is it a one-off or not a one-off item. So if you look at Hai Di Lao, right, their financials, right? All of these financials, their other income and their other gains and losses are all one-off item that is not related to their business itself. Okay, so let me show you over here. So it's the renminbi is about RMB about 1077.4 million. So that's the profit exclude the one-off item. Okay, for 2017. So just take note about it. So basically, if you minus off all those one-off items, right, actually Hai Di Lao, right, the first half 2018, their growth is only 19.2%. So you must take note about it. Their growth is only 19.2%. So let me move on to the financials and let you see. So this is the financial where I talk about. So what we want to do is that we always look for items that are not related to their business and you need to remove it. So for instance, this item is like other income and other gain and losses. Okay. So you have to remove it from their profit of the year. Okay, so in the past we used to focus on the owner of the company, which is true. You should always focus on the owner company, but why today I focus on the profit for the year is, let me explain to you. It's because they consolidate their non-controlling interest. So that's why you have to read the notes. So if you go to page 278, you can see that Hai Di Lao says that, right, their non-controlling interest, right, they're going to consolidate everything in. So if you can read the paragraph from here. Okay, let me go back to the financial. So because they consolidate, right, so in the past you can see, right, their non-controlling interest is quite a big amount. Then suddenly when they first half 2018 they go IPO, right, the amount become very minimum. Okay, because they actually went to consolidate it. So now, so to make it simple, I'm going to consolidate all of them under the profit for a year. So I'm just going to focus on this figure itself. Okay, so this is the figure. Since it's only very minimal. So the next thing is you need to find out whether the other income and the other gain and losses, is it their operating business or not. So if you move down the page, let me just clean it off. So if you move down the page, you look at Hai Di Lao, give me a minute. Okay, yeah. So you look at other income. It's basically income earned from those government grant, income earned from those government grant, bank deposit and all these. These are not the operating business, so you have to remove it one. Okay, so take note about this. Next is we look at their other gains and losses, which is further other gains and losses. So you look at their other gains and losses, basically the net loss and also net gain from foreign exchange and gain from fair value gains of assets and all this. So all these are not their original business, so you have to remove it. So if you go back to the 270, right? So what you need to do is, so let's say I show you what I do for the 2018 first half. So basically I take this figure 64.7, 647.4. Okay, I minus off this figure, which is 26. Okay, I round it up to 27, and I also minus off the other gains and losses, which is 18.8. okay, this will give you the answer over here. And for this one, right, it's the same thing. I just take 553.1 minus off the 40 and also minus off the 8.2. okay, then what I need to do is I take this answer 1, this answer 2. So basically I take answer 2 minus answer 1 divided by answer 1 multiplied by 100%, then you will get the growth rate, which I get it over here, which is 19.2%. so just take note about it. Okay, so let's move on. Next is you also want to look at their financial strength itself. So basically if you look at if you flip continuous lower to the bottom page of the IPOs prospectus, because the financial is very long, right, you can see their cash, right, is lesser than the debt. So basically they are they grow by funding using the debt itself. So you can see from here is the cash position, which you can see that their cash, I obtains it from here. So this is their cash. Then if I want to look at the debt, I just need to flip a few pages forward. Okay, never mind, I just use the bookmark 301. Okay, so this is their total debt, which is over here. Okay, so now you know where to extract the figure. Okay, so that's why they want to pay down the debt. So when they IPO, they're going to pay down this debt. So moving forward, probably I think that the debt level will be lesser. So just take note about it. Okay, so next is we want to go to the actual valuation of the company. We want to deduce after minusing off the one-off item, how much are we paying in the real PE itself. Okay, so if you look at Hai Di Lao, right, the profit excluding the one-off gain is about renminbi 1077.4. Then if I convert it to Hong Kong dollar, I just roughly convert, and the market cap is like 94.34 billion, sorry. And the PE that they talk about is about 69.2 times. So when they went IPO, the PE that a lot of the analysts telling you is that you are only paying 69.2 times PE. But if you minus off the one-off gain, right, actually you are paying 76.7 times PE. Okay. So I want you to type in the chat box right now, right, and tell me whether the PE is it high or low. 76.7 times. Is it high or low? Okay, cool. Okay, so the PE definitely look high, but if the company can grow at 70% annually, profits growing at 70%, okay, or growing at 100%, then the PE is actually not high. So PE can be high, but the growth must be there. So if the company can grow at 50% per annum, 2 years they will bring down the PE lower. So it's very subjective to growth. But if you look at the Hai Di Lao that I just told you, their first half 2018, right, their growth, right, is only 19.2%. 19.2%. And their growth from 2016 to 2017 is also about 19%. So that means the company for the past 1.5 years have been growing at 19.2%. So you're paying a 19.2% growth. You're paying a 76.7 times PE company for a 19.2% growth. So do you think that the valuation is high or low? Now, if you think it's high, you type high. Yeah, so that's the thing. Okay, so that's the thing. Not say I'm against IPO stock, but it's just that I feel the growth forward is, yes, their revenue is growing at 54%, but their earnings are growing at 19.2%. So if I want to track, I want to wait for their full year and see the 2018 how fast they are grow. If they really grow at 50%, then probably the P that I'm paying right now is okay. So I need to continue to monitor this company. So just take note about it. So the next thing is that is the step number 7 is you look at industry report. So if you look at the Singapore IPO prospectus, every time under the appendix on the last few pages, they're going to give you a very detailed third-party report. Okay, but for the Hong Kong prospectus is a bit different. Okay, for the Hong Kong prospectus, you can look under this thing called the industry review, which is they put the report out there. Okay, over here, industry overview. Okay, you can see it's over here. So it's page 75. So I just need to go to that page for the. Let's see. So okay, it's not this page. Oh yes, it's this page. So you can see industry overview, okay, of Hai Di Lao from here. So they already did a summary like in terms of Chinese cuisine and in terms of just the hotpot itself. So in China, in terms of Chinese cuisine, right, Hai Di Lao actually commands 0.3% market share. So you actually must know is that the Chinese group, as not only Chinese cuisine, the F&B industry is very fragmented on. Okay, so just take note about it. You cannot command very big percentage in terms of F&B. The next thing is that if you compare just the hotpot itself for Hai Di Lao, that means you compare with all the different hotpot, right? You can see that their market share is 2.2%. That means the top 5 players accounts about 5.5% market share, and they themselves already take 2.2%. So they are the largest in the hotpot industry in China itself. So you can say that they are actually market leader. And why they are able to become market leader is because they are service and food quality. So remember, if the moment they lose the service and food quality, then that will reduce their market share, and that will be the downfall of Hai Di Lao. So just take note about it. So I already explained where you can get this information. Okay, so right now it's about 9:53. Oh, I didn't know I speak about 50 minutes on explaining about Hai Di Lao. Is it okay that we overrun a bit because I need to answer Q&A? Is it okay? Yes or no? Okay, cool. So most of you don't have a problem. So now I'm going to move on to Q&A. So right now, give me a minute. I'm just going to open my Q&A bar. Okay, I'm going to close this. I'm going to show my face. Okay, so can you see me right now? Okay, cool. Okay, so right now I'm going to answer some Q&A for the next probably 10 to 15 minutes. If you have question about anything about Hai Di Lao or about IPO, you just type in the question box right now. Okay. Mansing asked actually which company is direct comparison for Hai Di Lao. I think the competitor is not listed. I heard of another brand, some Neo something on in China that was also very popular. I think it's Neo Guo or something. I can't remember what's the exact, but the companies are not listed so far. I think in terms of if you want to talk about really hotpot listed, right? I only can talk of the Thailand MK restaurant only. Okay, so that's the other hotpot business that I know is listed only. And that I don't know any hotpot business that is listed. Okay, let me. Karen asks, how do we apply for overseas IPO? I'm not sure about overseas IPO. You have to ask your broker because I never applied for overseas IPO before. But for Singapore IPO, I know it's just through the ATM. Oh, somebody says there's this beauty in a pot. I think I heard of that before, but I don't think it's IPO also. Oh, Andy actually says there's another competitor in Hong Kong called Xiapu. I haven't looked at them, so I'll probably look at them after you tell me. Oh, suddenly all of you really knows Hotpot. All of you sharing different Hotpot like Xiao Fei Yang Hotpot, Jiapu Hotpot. One actually asked why some Chinese company can't perform after listing. Okay, I don't think it's not only Chinese companies. Okay, if you talk about Chinese company listed in Singapore, probably yes, because a lot of them are they sells they got some fraud issue, but not, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them they have fraud issue. But why most IPO company, I would say that probably 80% or 90% of the IPO company after the IPO probably their share price will fall, but there's always 10% that continues to go up. It's all boils down to two factors: the valuation and the growth. Okay, most IPO company they IPO at a very high valuation because only good time they want IPO, bad time nobody want IPO on. Okay, this is the first thing. So if you during bad time you see company IPO, right, more or less you can, I would say there's chances that you still can make money out there because during bad time when they IPO, they don't IPO at a high valuation. Okay, this is the first thing. Second thing is I would say is the growth. If you look at Facebook, right, many years ago, they IPO at 100 times PE. But right now they are 20 something time because every year they are growing at 50%, 60%, and eventually the 100 time PE is actually very cheap for the amount of growth that they have. So just take note about it. Okay, so Ming Long actually asked, can you explain briefly the non-controlling interest versus the profit part? Okay, so why do we always look at net profit attributed to shareholder excluding the non-controlling interest? Because when you invest in a listed company, right, the listed companies, let's say this company is a listed company, okay, and it owns subsidiary, let's say 3 subsidiary. Let's say this is BreadTalk Private Limited, and this is BreadTalk Limited, which is a listed company, which is a shell, and this shell owns subsidiary, and these subsidiary are the companies that actually operating the business. So let's say he got this part which is BreadTalk Private Limited, the one that actually runs BreadTalk business. Then they got this Ding Tai Fung Private Limited, the one that actually runs Ding Tai Fung business. And you got this Seoul Ramen Private Limited. And let's say for example, Seoul Ramen Private Limited, BreadTalk, the listed company, right, only owns 70% of this company, right? The 30% will be the non-controlling interest. That means like if ever the company were to go liquidation, right, the 30% interest is never yours. That's why we say that we always have to take profit attributed to shareholder of the equity of the shareholder. Okay, but for Hai Di Lao case, in the past they got this non-controlling interest, which is the minority interest. But before they go IPO, they say that they want to merge it, so they want to buy over the stake in the non-controlling interest, and that's why it becomes as one. So that means their non-controlling interest is very minimum right now. So just take note about it. Isabel share very interesting thing. She says Xiapu has a big problem. A rat or something is found inside the pot and the share price tumble. Oh yeah. I think this is the company that. Oh yes, I think you're right. I also read this news about this Hotpot business. They have rat found in that after the Chinese government shut off their business for don't know how many months or something like that. So that's why the share price dropped. Okay. Isabel actually owns the outlets are rental or they don't own the shop lots. Okay, some of the shops that Okay, let me explain a bit more detail. Yes, they rents most of they rents all the thing is rented on. Okay, but got some property that they rent, right, is they rent from the founder. That means the founder actually own it. But the Hai Di Lao itself, I don't think they owns any property. I read it, I don't think they own any property. Okay, so mostly is rent. Ivan asks, is PE and PEG ratio on a stand-alone basis sufficient to derive the fair value? Is discount cash flow necessary? I think probably you won't want to use discounted cash flow because you cannot predict whether the company can grow. Let's say the PE is 70 times. I say it will grow 50% for next 10 years. You can't predict it. Okay, so discounted cash flow I feel is very subjective, and sometimes you will get more wrong than correct. Okay, I think PEG and PE will be a better gauge on it. Ting Hao asked, actually, I missed the beginning of session. Is there any way I can rewatch it? Yes, you can rewatch. You just go to www.fifthperson.com/hangout. Okay, so all the past episode is over down there. Okay. Charlie asked, do you think that the IPO price is over or underrated? I think the IPO at a very high price, which I told you the IPO at that valuation, and their growth for the first half is only 19.2%, and their growth for 2017 is also 19.2%. So if I were to be conservative and saying that they're going to continue to grow at 19.2%, then based on the P over 20%, around 20%, is actually a very high PEG. Okay. So Sing In asks, as a retail investor, what can we do with a huge related party transaction except to monitor it? Actually, I'm very concerned with very huge related party transaction because it's really subject to a lot of manipulation. Especially in Asia, you don't want to go into companies with, unless you can trust the management. If not, try not to go into companies with huge related party transaction. I understand that Hai Di Lao, they have a huge related party transaction, and based on a lot of things I read, based on this Forbes magazine that wrote about it, and based on the way the prospectus write, their staff, they really take care of their staff. They treat their staff well, they treat their staff with respect. But my take is treating staff well and treating them with respect is very different from treating shareholder. So you don't know whether they will treat the shareholder well also first yet. Okay, because last time he only answered to himself. Now he has to answer to so many people. So you don't know how you're going to treat shareholder. So that's why I say you have to monitor. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm monitoring this company. Of course, I'm going to share with you one fun fact is that just in case you don't know, this Zhang Yong, right, he actually is a Singaporean. He and his wife converted into a Singaporean. Okay, so he's staying somewhere near the Botanic Garden over there. So if you look in the prospectus, you got his house address over there. It's very interesting. They disclose almost everything. Okay. Casey asks, can Chinese accounting record be trusted in the light of S-chip experience? I think a lot of the S-chip companies that listed, right, they really have a lot of issues itself. But for the Hong Kong, generally, they are still quite okay. But of course, they also got a few backache. That's why if you want to invest in the Hong Kong market, right, you have to track a lot on their related party transaction and also the cash flow itself. You must know, right, especially in the Hong Kong market, they like to play this what we call the capital market game. So they can keep ramping up their profits, right, with one-off gain, which is why I ask you must remove one-off gains and all this, right? Or maybe fair value gains from property and all this. But actual fact, the operating business is not doing very well. But if you look at their cash flow, right, their cash flow is not doing very well. So you must look at cash flow a lot. So just take note about it. Isabel asks, so their asset like they don't own any property. I think those assets is their equipment. They need to rent a property. I think you F&B asset like. Usually, to me, I think F&B is asset heavy because they have to consistently buying equipment. Asset light is what I mean that they don't need to buy equipment. the equipment, their assets very minimum, their inventory is very minimum, but F&B there's a lot of inventory also. So I don't consider them asset light. I will still say they are those asset type of business to grow. Let me see. Yeah, Isabel said the right thing. She says that the discounted cash flow is very unpredictable if the net income or cash flow is not even, which is true. So I think in the past I used to use a lot of discounted cash flow. Then after I realized that it's not very accurate. So I start to become a more of a based on multiple and look at companies. Frankie asks, at this moment, do you see a good culture in this company? So based on how he goes and bottom approach and based on all the staff interview, and when I go Hai Di Lao, I also talk to the staff, they're generally very happy with the culture. So I think the company culture itself is very strong. The thing that like I always mention is that whether he will treat us the same as how he treat the staff or not. That's the important thing. So that is what I need to monitor about this company. It is never too late to go into this company also. Of course, I hope that the share price drop a lot, then you can buy a very cheap price so you can minus off all these things. Okay. Andy asked, what's in your opinion, what's the character of the management? I think it's still too early to say the character, but I'm just very concerned. That's why I'm saying that I cannot, because he treats the employee well, and I think that the customer, the management will treat me well. But looking at the related party transaction, right, the so huge amount of related party transaction, I got very big concern also. Okay, I always see huge amount of related party transaction. I'm very concerned on. So that's why I need to continue monitor this company. I don't want to immediately jump in. I know it's a very hot company. I also went up to the radio to talk about Hai Di Lao. So you can hear it from the fifth person website where I go up to the radio to talk about it. But of course, the related party transaction is the main concern to me right now. Okay, and that can also increase the risk. And if you look at the way, even the trademark also not owned by the listed company. The trademark is still owned by the founder and licensed to the listed company. So my concern is still 50-50. Okay, the founder doesn't give me the feeling that he's trying to sell out, but yet I also got another 50% thinking that it seems like he's trying to sell out. So I need to double confirm this for the next few years that I track this company. Okay, I cannot confirm right now at this moment. Okay. Alvin asks Alvin from Malaysia, he asked that how's the competition landscape for Hotpot in SG like? Okay, I'm not sure about everybody, but this is my personal opinion. In the past, before Hai Di Lao came in, right, J-Pot was the very hot business. Okay, if you go to J-Pot, always long queue on. But if you now go and see J-Pot itself, right, the queue is not as long as the past ever since Hai Di Lao came in. Okay, but of course there's this I think this Beauty in the Pot by Paradise, they also start to come out long queue. But I think the service level, in terms of service level, right, nobody beats Hai Di Lao. Because if you were to go to J-Pot to eat, right, I think there's a 2-hour time limit. But if you go to Hai Di Lao eat, right, there's no time limit. You can just eat already and sit out there. But J-Pot is like within 2 hours you must get out of that place. Okay, so that's a very big difference. So just think about it. Frankie asked, do you see BreadTalk in a similar situation with big numbers of related companies since this is a F&B business? When I say related company, is related party transaction. That means that they got companies, right, that is not in the listed company, but the founder also own it. BreadTalk, they do not have that issue. Okay. Okay, so now it's about 10. So I'm going just answer maybe another 1 or 2 questions. Okay, so Ranchi, actually, can you explain a little bit about related party transaction and what does it suggest? Okay, so what I mean by related party transaction, say for instance, for Hai Di Lao case, this is the Hai Di Lao listed company, and this is the company that sells all those food supply, everything to Hai Di Lao. So basically Hai Di Lao buy food and buy everything, buy decoration, all from this company. And this company is also owned by the founder, but it's not in the listed company. So it's separate. Okay. So if the founder want to manipulate the business, right, he can sell this product, right, to the listco, right, at a cheap price, so that when they sell at a cheap price, the listco will make more money on the profit, because the gross profit increase, right? So the profit will increase. So that's how they is subject to manipulation. But I'm not saying that Hai Di Lao have this. I'm just saying that they got this related party transaction that was subject to manipulation. But I have to continue to track the business itself. So just take note about it. Okay. So I just got to answer one last question by Isabel. She said that Hai Di Lao seems to be a low entry barrier company. What it can do and other potential also can, other competitors also can do. Yes, it is a. That's why I say F&B is a very fragmented industry. So in order to survive in F&B, right, your service level, your quality of Hai Di Lao have to maintain. That's the reason why they stand out. This is the first thing. Second thing is the strategic location. When all these F&B, right, they got the good location, they get it down there. If the business continue to do well, right, they will hold very good location. If you were ask somebody to go into VivoCity and get a good location, right, the F&B business will have to queue very long, right, and wait for some tenant to give up, then they can go and get it. If Hai Di Lao get the location is very good, and other tenant want to come in and take that location, they have to wait for Hai Di Lao to give up. If Hai Di Lao never give up that location, they will never get that location. Okay, so it's in the mall, right, there's a very few turnover in terms of the tenant itself most of the time. So this is another thing that I also learned recent years, is that if they secure the good location, it's very hard for them to, if their business continue to maintain, example, the service level and quality, right, it's very hard for other people to come in to their location. So let me give you an example. So do you remember the what's that bubble tea thing? Gong Cha. Okay, Gong Cha and LiHo. So basically LiHo in the past was Gong Cha. And because their partnership quarrel, right, LiHo actually cancel all the Gong Cha outlet and change it to LiHo. Okay, and they secure all the strategic location. And you see now the Gong Cha want to come in, right, they cannot immediately take up all the location, because all these distribution place that LiHo take, right, they took them many years to take. As long as LiHo business still running, right, Gong Cha cannot take over that place. So for Gong Cha to come, let's say into, let's say example, let's say VivoCity example, you have to wait for somebody to get out and they have to come in. Okay, so take note about it. So this is another way that I see in F&B, the distribution channel. That recent years, when I talk to F&B expert, then I start to understand, oh, that's how they actually build their business and build a strong moat, because they want to secure strategic locations. Okay, so now it's about close to 10:15, and I hope you have learned a lot from today's webinar about going through Hai Di Lao, and I hope I've answered most of your questions. So if not, I'm going to call it off for today's webinar, and thank you so much to stay all the way for 1 hour plus listening to me, and I hope to see you again in the next webinar, okay, which is probably next month, okay, whichever topic we have. So I'll see you again. Thank you so much.